Here we see my 2002 Chevy Trailblazer, and if you notice on the back, the wheel is missing along with the rear discs. And also, if you look closely, we don't even have an emergency brake or a backing plate here. That's because when you live in the Northeast, these backing plates rust into oblivion. They just poof, they're gone. So, where I live, this vehicle will not pass inspection until I replace the brake shoes and put a e-brake backing plate on here, and once the emergency brake starts working, then I will be good to go. So what I've done, I've ordered these at the local parts store. Gotta go pick them up, and I just want to make a quick video here to show you that you can actually do this. Basically, once you get all your brakes off here, your pads and your bracket there off, which is pretty straightforward, 18mm bolts, and on the brakes here they are 14mm. Once you get that side off and you do the other side over here, and we got the other side off, show you real quick. This is not going to be a step-by-step, but it's going to give you a real good ballpark of what you got to do. And you can see this side is off here. Everything's down there. Now what we got to do next, which is not really all that bad, there is the rear end. We got to take all the bolts out of the rear end and just kind of open up the back there. So we got to take two keepers out so we can actually slide both these axles out. And once we do that, there are 4 bolts right here that we have to take off, and once we get these off, the backing plate actually is behind here. It bolts on here, right behind this piece here, which you can't really see because of all the rust. So so far so good. Everything's come off. This is taking me about 20 minutes to do all this. I've got brand new slotted rotors on the back, so I might as well just go ahead and replace these emergency brakes so it will pass inspection. So we got the rear diff off, and there's the dirty oil. There's the cover right there. Most of the bolts came out. One was rounded off, but I got it off. And now we got to take a couple clips off here, and we can slide these axles out. Alright, so we got to take our little pin out next. This is a 5/16. Make sure you use a 6-point on that. And once we get this out here, we can slide our axles in and pull out our little keepers. And now we're going to just slide out our axle pin, put it off the side, and the bolt can actually kind of stick in there right there. You can kind of just leave that in there because you really can't get it out. So that way you can't lose it. What I did now, I just kind of pushed in on the axle out there, just kind of pushed it in, and the keeper here just actually just fell off. And that's what we'll do to the other side. And you can see these are they just slide up in there, right there. If you put them back in, you push the axle out, and they will stay. Let's do the other one. I don't know. I'll see if I can push the axle in and reach over here and see if you can see it. I think you can see it there. And I think I can get my finger in there. We'll see. But there it is. I'll have to set the camera down because this is pretty slippery. And there's that one. It just fell out too. So our waxles are ready to blade. Did I just say waxles? Axles. The cold is getting to me. I'm ready to slide them out. So we'll stick this in the hand here and pull the axles out. So that was really easy to do. So if you got to do this, it's not that big of a deal. Alright, so we'll go ahead and pull this out. I know a lot of you are going to say, why didn't you replace the seals? Well, they're not leaking. They are perfectly okay. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Besides, the vehicle's got 170,000 miles on it. So we'll just pull this axle out. And that's all there is to it. And we'll set this in the garage out of the rain. And now we'll do the same thing for the passenger side. And make sure you keep the axles the same. And there is the seal on this side. It's okay. I'm not going to worry about replacing it. If I have to later, you know, if I decide to keep the vehicle, I'll replace it when it leaks. But the point is, I just wanted to show you how to get these emergency brake shoes on. But there's the axle, so we'll set it in there out of the way also. Alright, so we got this plate off here. The trick to getting this off is take a hammer and hit it from behind. You may have a little rust here, but it will come off. And I got the other side off also. It's kind of hanging there. The only thing I didn't do was disconnect the cable from the back of this. I'll do that in a few minutes. Kind of tricky to get that out of there. But we're ready to go ahead and put these backing plates on. They are here. And there they are, or dust covers, whatever you want to call them. And here are the shoes, emergency brake shoes. Just a one-piece design. Doesn't take much for them to open up and work. And the whole idea is to, they sit in here like this, which is kind of strange. So you can see how tight they are just sitting there. So hopefully we'll have this done here shortly. Now the only difficult thing I really had was getting some of these bolts out. They were pretty rusted. One on the other side, the head was pretty bad on it, but I managed to get an old socket and pound on there. Actually got it loose, but these are all 18 millimeter. So just be aware of that. But if you don't live in the Northeast, you live down south, you're probably not going to have this problem. But there's 4 of these on each side. So let's go ahead and get this together. Alright, so there is a new dust cover. Now, when you put this on, make sure you take the old one off. You won't be able to see it because it's probably going to be covered up in rust. And once you do that, it does go on there pretty easy. And then all I got to do is hook up the emergency brake cable. How I got this off was I just took a pair of snips and kind of squeezed this spring right here like this. And once you do that, you can fish this out of this right here, this guy, and then just snap it back in. But you can play around with these. That side's done, and the other side's done. I just got to put the axles in and the brakes and put grease in the rear end. Here's what it looks like when it's all together. And on the bottom here, you got a little bit of a clip that it goes into right there where my finger is. I can probably show you better on the other side, but this side's in. Let me just show you real quick. Let's see. Right here, the shoe slides up in this, and it kind of keeps it centered. Then you put it up here, and it's centered. We'll go ahead and stick it on here and give you a look at it real quick. Alright, so there's kind of how they set up. You can see they kind of sit in there. And don't worry, those holes are just weep holes for water or whatever. And they do give you some hardware that you can replace this with right here, but I'm not going to worry about it. I like this. It's in there nice and solid. These are basically the same things. The problem is if you try to take the screw out, you're probably going to break it off anyway. So it's on. So put our axles in, put our keepers in, pin and oil, and we're just about done. Right, so probably not the best quality video because I'm under here with a light, but it's all back together. I got thread locker on my pin here, and it's good to put that on there with some thread locker. Now my spider gears, 2 of them fell up. When you put your axles back in, your seat clamps, push your axles back in with your finger so the seat clamps won't fall off. And if these axles, if these spider gears fall off, just start them on each end opposite and then spin them slowly. And if you get your fingers in here, you can get the pin in and everything. It takes a little practice, but it can be done. Just don't get too frustrated because you will probably lose yours like I did mine. But it's all back together, and all we gotta do is put the grease in it, put our wheels back on, and brakes, and we're done. So definitely make sure you put some thread locker on your little pin there. And I am using a little 5/8 socket, just barely gets in there like this at an angle. So there, it's pretty tight. So we're almost done. Alright, so we are rocking and rolling here. We got this side on. This went on kind of tight. The other side is a little loose. There is a secondary adjustment I can worry about later that's up under there, I believe, on each cable. But this one's on, and I can kind of turn it, but the e-brakes are in there just right. And I've got this piece here back on. Like I said, it's kind of tricky, but once you get the hang of it, it goes on pretty easy. And all we got to do is put grease in our rear end. That's what I'm working on now. And we will wrap this video up. So hopefully this will give you some idea how to do this. Like I said, it's not a perfect step-by-step video, but in a ballpark area, you'll know exactly what you need to do. Okay, so we're all done. Now the big test is, will this work? So we'll open up the door here a little bit. And we'll put this in reverse. And we're moving. Let's pull the emergency brake here. And yes, it works. That's off the brake. And we are holding still. And I'm going to release it. And now we're moving. now it's back on. So our emergency brake does work. So I hope this little video helps you guys out on your Trailblazers. I know if you live in the Northeast, like I said earlier, these things just completely rust out so bad, there's not a whole lot you can do with it. And also, when I pull up on it, my light comes on. So cool, that's what I wanted. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and let me know where you're watching from. And until my next video, guys, I will see you later.